It's Tehachapi time. Key Budge. Sergeant Jason Dunham from the Tehachapi Police Department joins me today. Jason, welcome to Tehachapi.
Thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you here because we had Chief Krager on a few months ago and we were talking about different things going on with the department. But today, holiday time, very specific things that we want to talk about today, and that's holiday safety for the consumer. And that's something that you guys are stressing, and we want to get some messaging out to those that are listening.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, for holiday safety, what you guys are doing directed patrol that are out in and about in the community.
Yes, we've got directed patrol in areas where the community is primarily going to be shopping.
So you guys are out there being high visibility.
Yes.
Trying to deter, I guess if there's a bad guy out there and they see you guys rolling through the lot, they're going to, maybe I need to go somewhere else.
Yes, absolutely.
If I'm out shopping, I have a responsibility to provide safety for myself.
You do.
But I know that we get so locked in on this cell phone, and you see it every day if you go into whatever shopping center. I don't care what store it is. Someone's going to be head down, texting away, and not paying attention to their surroundings.
Yep, that's the biggest issue.
What does the message send? If I've got my head down and I'm buried in a cell phone, what kind of a message am I sending?
Well, for a crook, you're an easy target because you're not paying attention to your surroundings.
And I bet that's probably one of the things that they're looking for.
Absolutely.
As the consumer, I either need to finish my messaging in the car or wait till I get in the store, because I would bet that parking lot area is probably the most vulnerable area that I'm going to be personally.
Yes, 100%. So if anybody's there waiting and watching, they're going to be looking at the people who are not paying attention to their surroundings, who aren't looking around, maybe not parking in well-lit areas, things like that.
And then with that, I was talking with someone recently that was shopping inside a store, and it was down in the Antelope Valley. It wasn't here locally in Tehachapi, but they were shopping at one of the big box stores. She was texting away, had her purse in the shopping cart up on where the kids usually sit, and was not paying attention. And I know that there's probably the same thing. There's people out there that are looking for that vulnerable moment.
Yes.
And then her purse was grabbed, gone. She looked up, it's gone, and people that were in the aisle, they're paying attention to their own thing.
Yep.
Once that crook gets that purse, what are they doing with it? I mean, they're looking for cash, I guess.
They're going to look for anything that they can get the fastest: cash, phones, credit cards. Oftentimes we get where an incident like a purse is stolen, and within the next 10, 15 minutes, they've already used it to get gas or somewhere where they can use your PIN or your zip code, something like that. So they're going to get in there as fast as they can and get what they can get out of it.
And then once they do that, is there additional problems that you might see down the road, several weeks away?
Yeah. I mean, they're potentially going to steal your identity, or sell your information to somebody that'll use it. So
your state is they grab the purse, they go through, they've got the cash. That's their quick, probably their drug fix or whatever they've got. They've got the credit card so they can go out and do their own Christmas shopping.
Right.
And then they take that personal information and they're either using it for identity theft to take out more credit on your profile.
Yes.
Man.
Or they're gonna trade it. They're gonna trade it for drugs, trade it for money to somebody that, maybe has the skills to use that stuff later down the road.
So you're saying like your personal information has a dollar value, has a street value?
Sure.
So you can go out there and trade it for dope or something else that's out there in the underworld?
Absolutely. I mean, crooks have different things that they're good at, and there may be somebody in their community that's good at stealing identities, and they can absolutely trade that for either a dollar amount or drugs or other stolen property.
It's amazing. And then I bet you once it's out there, your information sticks around out on the dark web for an extended period of time.
Yes. I mean, I can't even imagine how compromised the world is with that kind of stuff. Oftentimes you see somebody say, I went to this gas station and the day after I got a charge and it has to be this gas station. Oftentimes readers are in places where you don't think they are, and that information can get, accumulated over, say, a month. And then they'll put that information away. They'll hold on to it for, say, 6 months. And then it gets sold or it gets in somebody else's hands and they start using it. By the time all this time's passed and you've used that card, we don't know where that was compromised or not.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and if you think about that, I bet you gas pumps are probably the biggest thing that people use their debit card.
Yes.
So, and when you said a reader, so there are devices that are put in that do they break into the gas pumps to do this, or
They can open the gas pump and put one in place. They can put one, where you do like a point of sale. They can put a thing there that can read it. The sky's the limit. I mean, these guys, all they have to do is think about ways to steal from
it's true
the public.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, with the amount of memory that we're able to put on cards, like an SD card or some kind of a flash drive,
It's unbelievable.
and then but the data that compromises me is just a small, tiny bit of data. So
Yes.
they could have thousands and thousands of profiles that they collect, and they go back once a month or so. And I bet another thing that, if you think about like the gas pumps, and they've got security video. Most gas stations have security video.
Right.
So I bet if you go back and you're trying to track this credit card transaction, I mean, what's the average time length that a gas station keeps its video and storage? Because I'm betting it's not that long.
It's not that long, and it varies between companies because again, you're talking about 24/7 data that's being captured. So sometimes it can be 30 days, sometimes it can be 2 weeks. Like I told you before, if the reader's been placed for a month and then removed, and then you think, oh, well, 2 weeks ago I went here, and then that video's long gone. That video's, you're not going to get it.
So to tie this into your holiday shopping, as we're talking about this with using a card at a point of sale, would you suggest that people are out there to use a credit card or debit card?
Credit card is best because it's got a little more built-in security than a debit card. That's what we suggest. If you're old school like my father, everything's cash.
Right.
But if you're going to carry a large amount of cash, well, then you potentially could lose it. You could reach in your pocket for that phone that you're worried about, and then you drop the cash that you have. There's probably a fine balance between the two. My wife would tell you, shop online. Right. And have it delivered. That way you're not out in the public. When you are out there, you got to be aware of what's going on. You got to be aware of people that are approaching you. You've got to be aware of where you park. If you're going to do a lot of shopping, you can't put all that stuff in your car in plain view because there's crooks that are walking around looking in your car for easy access to your laptop that you may have left or a purse, gifts. You just got to be cognizant. Don't make yourself an easy target.
Okay, so let's stick with that when you're talking about in the parking lot. So one of the things that you mentioned is pay attention when you're pulling into a parking lot. Are you looking for something in particular? I mean, is it people hanging out in the cars or just standing around the parking lot? Or, I mean, is it just take all that stuff in?
I would take all of it in. I would try and park close to the entrance, try and park where it's well lit. I wouldn't pull in somewhere where there are people loitering around. You got to kind of just scan the entire parking lot. Could you do all of those things and still be a victim? Of course, you can. But if you can do some of those things to minimize being a victim, then that's the best.
Now, I know this time of year with the holidays, we're out shopping. And sometimes we're going to multiple stores.
Right.
So if we come out of a store and you've got 2 or 3 bags and you put it in the car, and then you go to the next store and you look, things are safe. Now, my car becomes vulnerable because I'm not in it and I'm away from it.
Yes.
Do we have people that are out there just kind of surfing cars, looking in to see what you've got?
Yes.
Is there something that we can do, should we take a throw blanket to cover it, or what are some of the things that you'd suggest? I mean, I like you mentioned, laptops and purses people leave on seats,
yes,
right in plain view.
Right. If you have an opportunity, hide those things. Put them in your trunk. I would even suggest if you're going to be at one location, maybe a mall, and you come out with 3 or 4 bags, get in your car and maybe go park somewhere else. That way, if somebody is watching, you come out with all this stuff, they may think you've left rather than loading the car up with a bunch of stuff and then leaving. Because if somebody's watching you, you're going to be their target.
Okay. Yeah. You want to, I guess, minimize your vulnerability. And that's one of those good ways is you're paying attention and then trying to throw them off the scent, if you will.
Yes. I mean, you've got to think like they think. They're going to go where it's easy.
I mean, that's true. I mean, when you think about vulnerability, if you are paying attention to something, I bet the crooks makes them feel uncomfortable that they're getting eyeballed or, that people don't have their heads down buried in the phone.
Yes.
That's someone they're probably going to potentially maybe avoid.
Right. And to go back to your friend that her purse was stolen, when you're in a store, be cautious of people that are trying to distract you. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there of people pulling pranks when they're distracting somebody, but those things really do happen in public. You may get distracted and still have that phone in your hand, and meanwhile somebody else is grabbing your purse and leaving.
So you've seen them work as teams where one comes up to be the distractor. Hey, can you help me? Can you pull that thing off the top shelf for me or whatever? And then while you're distracted, not looking at your purse or whatever valuables you have in your cart,
yes,
their buddy comes along and they're off and running.
They're off and running. So, if you're a woman, the best thing to do is hold on to that purse. Keep it around your body. So it's a little bit harder if they are going to try and take it. It's a little bit harder to get than when you just leave it in the basket.
What about if you're, I guess, shopping alone? I mean, that probably sticks out. So does it help to have going with that second person, especially if I'm thinking about my wife, she should go out with one of her girlfriends and shop, that probably adds to the safety element.
Yes, it's going to add to the safety element, but probably going to spend more money. No, the more people that go, in my opinion, the better. That way, more eyes are better than one set of eyes. So everybody can kind of, if they're paying attention to what's going on, absolutely.
Okay, very good. We want to make sure we're covering things up in our car, and we make sure we pay attention to where we park. So yes. We want to go well-lit areas. As fun as it is to drive up and down parking lot aisles, sometimes it's a good idea to do it. It's not the first spot you can find just because you might see people kind of mulling about and you don't feel comfortable about it.
Right.
And especially if we're talking about maybe the women that are listening, that you need to pay attention to those things for your personal safety.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the other things maybe that holiday time you mentioned that your wife will make online purchases, and then we always got those porch pirates.
Right.
So are there things that we can do as we do see our shopping habits? Not everything's in a brick and mortar. That
right.
We do more Amazon type shopping.
Right. If you are a member of Amazon, you can have key delivery. So there's a device you can install in your garage that will allow Amazon to open your garage door, deliver your packages inside your garage, and then shut the garage door. And they actually stand outside and make sure the garage door is shut. So that's an option that you have to make sure that the porch pirates don't get you. Another option maybe isn't going to prevent a porch pirate, but keep your residence well lit. Make sure that you have porch lights on. Make sure your exterior house is lit. If you have the opportunity, install a Ring doorbell or a camera out front. So those things aren't going to prevent somebody from running up and grabbing your package, but it may deter them. They may drive through the neighborhood and go, that house is well lit and there's cameras. So let's go to one that's maybe a little darker and easier to do that.
You reduce your vulnerability by doing a few things to be proactive for your own
Absolutely.
Personal space, safety, and security.
Absolutely. If you are maybe somebody that works extended hours through the day, or you're going to be gone, if there's a neighbor that you trust, you can always, almost anything that you're having sent, there's an ability for them to text you when it's on its way, almost going to be delivered. If you have a neighbor that can go get your stuff, have them go get your stuff and kind of reduce the packages sitting out where they can be stolen.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
I guess it is part of that, get to know the people that you live around.
Absolutely.
And you start to build those. It's kind of like what Neighborhood Watch is, right?
Right.
Where you get to know your neighbors and they kind of look out for each other. And this is one of those prime times a year it makes sense. You've developed those relationships. Just say hi, get to know them, and then say, hey, can you I got a package that got delivered. Do you mind picking it up for me?
Yeah, even if you're doing that for your neighbor too, you can do it back and forth. But one of the things we often see is people become kind of hermits at their house. They don't understand or they don't realize what's going on around their house. And so when we talk about vulnerability, I would suggest that learn your neighborhood's patterns. Who's leaving for work at 4 a.m, who's coming home at 2 a.m. Sometimes we get people with these cameras and they have no idea. They've installed the camera. They have no idea what's going on around them. They don't kind of look at the camera, the history, and kind of see what's the pattern of my neighborhood. Oh, that's Johnny. He's coming home. Or that's so-and-so. They're leaving for work. Again, when we talk about awareness, be aware of what's going on, even around your own home.
That's true. We are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
We do set up those patterns. And, it's funny. As you said that, I can envision myself at home, and I like that kind of being able to come, do my own little thing. I'll wave to the neighbors. Not that I pay attention to what they do, but if there's something out of place, it pops up.
Yes.
It's like that, oh, hey, that's a different car in the driveway. What is that? And it's just that scanning thing, I guess, that I'm built in for me to do.
Right.
9 times out of 10, it's like everything's cool. Same brown car. Hey, there's a silver one there. What is that?
Right. And that's a good way to be, and that's the way you should want to be. You should notice when things are different in your neighborhood and go, that's not normal. Rather than I didn't ever even notice. It happens. It happens, but be aware.
Now, let's say we've gone out, we've done our holiday shopping for the day. We're heading over to, whether we're home or we're stopped by to visit a friend on the way home. We've got all that stuff out in the car. Now we're parked out on the street. Is there same kind of scenario do we want to think about just as if we were in a parking lot, whether we're on a residential street? What's that kind of a thought process?
So same thing. Let's park as close to the residence that we're going to visit. If you have an opportunity to park in the driveway, do it. But one of the most important things that we can't stress enough for the police department is lock your doors. Don't make it easy for somebody to just open the door and run. And so sometimes, in this community, we hear, well, I never had to lock my doors. Well, the one thing I got to say to that is a lot of the children that were raised here that maybe are, undesirables now, they all understand that some people don't lock their doors. So again, can somebody get in there in a split second? Yes. But if you lower that, that chance of being a victim, it's better. So lock your doors, make sure your stuff isn't where it can be seen, park as close to the residence as you can, use the driveway if you can. Don't park 2 blocks up the road, leave your car unlocked, and then wonder why, gosh, I don't understand why somebody stole all my stuff.
And there's people going, well, why does he say that? I go, I'm betting you say that because you've been on that call for service where someone's done that.
Yes.
And they're shocked that they're like, my car got broken into. It's like, oh, how'd they get in? Oh, well, I didn't leave it locked.
Right. I don't want to be, I don't want to harp on that, but it's just lower your chance of being a victim by taking a few proactive steps of, I'm going to lock my doors. I'm going to park where it's well lit. I'm going to park close to where I'm visiting, and I'm not going to make my stuff easily accessible to anybody by being in plain sight. Put that stuff in your trunk, like you said, cover it up, stuff like that.
And then I guess if you're home, don't leave it out in the car overnight.
Don't.
Yeah.
Bring it in. Bring it in. Even your packages. Bring your packages in. Check your mail every day. Go out and get it. Don't leave it there for a week, and then somebody's broken into the mailbox, and you've got no idea that it's been a week and you're missing packages or credit cards or things like that.
This time of year, it's too tough to, I guess, kind of bounce back from those kinds of thefts because they have an impact. I mean, whether they're gifts or they're inbound gifts or stuff that you wanted to give to somebody, now you're right back at ground zero and you're out of pocket the money that you spent for those things.
Yes. And, the crooks know that things are showing up in the mail, money, checks, gift cards. They're aware of that.
Okay. Any other personal safety items that we should make note of or share, with the community, whether it's personal items or the way we just kind of go about and...
Well, I would say to go back as far as like your residence, if you're aware that you're going to be traveling and you've got neighbors that you trust, I would let them know, hey, we're going to be gone. I would limit what you're posting on social media. I would limit, we're here. Oh, and by the way, we just bought a brand new Lexus and it's at home. Some of those things can get in the wrong hands and it can be used against you. So make sure your neighbors know if you can. If you can't do that, if you don't know your neighbors, you can call the police department and say, hey, I'm going to be out of town. We need patrol checks, and we can facilitate that.
So you guys do vacation checks?
We do.
Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense. You'd rather drive by a house, have visibility versus having to go and take a burglary report, after the fact.
Right.
Okay.
And if you can, put your lights on timers, things like that. If you trust that neighbor enough to maybe go and check your house, do that. Oftentimes we'll get somebody that travels and they've got all the lights off. That screams, well, during the week, this person's active, and then all of a sudden, now we're on the holidays, there's no activity in this house, it's dark, and for a crook, that screams, oh, they're on vacation, I'm going to go maybe knock on the door and see what happens.
Yeah, it's crazy because you say that, and my wife this week had purchased some of those smart switches, so she's able to do it from her phone.
Yes.
So you can be on vacation, oh, it's time to turn on the lights at home. So
yes.
Even whether it's you put them on a timer or you can do them from an app, from your phone, very inexpensive. I was shocked at how inexpensive these smart timers were, and she's just able to use the app and turn on the lights or turn on the radio, make it sound like someone's, home listening to something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So reach out to us if you need vacation checks. We can absolutely do that. And it's all the little things, don't leave your trash cans out, pull them up, things like that. As many proactive steps as you can take, do it.
Okay. And now you can't do vacation checks out in Stallion Springs or Bear Valley.
No.
For the residents here of the city, but people that are listening that may live somewhere else, they need to check with their agency, their law enforcement agency in their community to do those kinds of services, because odds are they probably offer something similar if they have the manpower to do it.
Yes, they probably do. There's probably a form involved or some type of formal request, but yes, reach out to whatever agency covers your area and ascertain if that's something that they can facilitate for you.
I remember back in the day, go in my history here, kind of date how old I am. We used to talk about picking up newspapers, because they would build up if you were on vacation. Mm-hmm. Now newspapers are digital. Mm-hmm. So it's, there are still hard copy papers that get delivered. So, I mean, that is something to think about for those dinosaurs like myself that still subscribe to a traditional newspaper. not to let those stack up.
Right.
Different things that you can do to make it look like there's activity.
Yes.
Before you leave, move the cars around so they're not all in the same position. Like if you've got that extra car at the house that always sits in that third space, maybe move it over to the first space so while you're gone, things look different. It's like, oh, someone must be home because things aren't the way they always are.
Yes. And this time of the year, you got a lot of traveling going on, but it's cold, so you get people that may go out and start their cars and leave them running. So, those are some of the things to think about. And
well, let's stick with that point right there. And it's been cold here lately.
Yes.
Ice on the windshield. I leave my car outside and I have to start it up. So you're saying don't start it up and then go back in the house to get my coffee?
You can start it up if you've got that remote start that, kind of prohibits them from getting in and going away. But if you're just going to go out and put the key in it and start it, you run the risk of somebody driving by and getting in it and driving away, even if the doors are locked. And, with that said, the police department stresses, if you see suspicious activity, call us. You're not bothering us. This is what we get paid to do. We would much rather report some burglary or vehicle theft by getting a phone call and going there than
after the fact.
Yeah, after the fact, stealing all your stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine that's got to be that kind of adrenaline rush when you get there and you find the bad guy in the middle of something because someone called because it just didn't look right.
Yes.
Because they paid attention to their neighborhood.
Yes, we like that stuff.
Okay, very good. All right, anything else that we should pay attention to this time of year?
I think that's it. I would be careful when we go back to the online stuff. Just be careful who I would buy from a reputable company. If something seems kind of too good to be true, or if somebody's asking you to wire money, those should all be red flags for you. So stick to the companies that are reputable and are doing good business.
So will the police department ever call me and say that if I get you a Apple gift card that we can clear my warrant?
Never ever.
Anything like that? That just doesn't happen.
Those should be red flags, and typically the older community, they're the biggest target of that.
Okay. Yes.
So if they're listening, that's not going to happen. We don't do that stuff. We're not going to clear your warrant. There's been no, we're not going to file your name. That's all those things should be red flags for you.
So if someone calls and threatens you with arrest, the best thing to do is probably to call back your police agency and ask, hey, I just got this call.
Yes.
Don't follow through and give them all your personal information.
Yes. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had people go down and purchase, gift cards and then lose money that way because they think their nephew's in jail in Mexico or somewhere, and it happens all the time.
They play on emotion.
Yep.
Okay. So we need to, and that's something that, as if you're listening going, oh yeah, well that makes sense to me. But like you said, Jason, they focus on seniors. So if we have seniors in our lives, we should make sure we explain that to them.
Yes.
Because they play on emotion. And if it's that, I think about, I'm a grandfather. So if something called and said, hey, something about, my grandkids, I'd be like, they'd have my attention right away.
Right.
And you want to do right by your grandkids.
Yes.
And they're playing on that emotion.
They are playing on that emotion. And oftentimes when these things come, when they realize this is fake, this isn't real, they oftentimes ask, well, how did they know so-and-so's name? And, there's a million ways to get your information, and maybe they got that information from your social media or whatever, and they'll use these little things that they can get their hands on, and then the people realize, well, maybe that's where they got the information. They don't know who Johnny is. They know Johnny lives in Utah because you posted a picture of yourself there, 2 years ago.
Oh,
but they may say
smart.
We've got him on a warrant. So just be forward thinking. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. You can call us. If somebody calls you and says that, call us.
Okay.
We'll let you know.
So Tehachapi Police Department, 661-822-2222.
Yes.
These are great tips. And the nice thing about this podcast is it will live on. So people can replay it, share it. And if they have questions, we invite them, go ahead and give you a call at the police department, or they can email through us and then I'll get them to you.
Yep.
So we'll look forward to that. Maybe would you be open to coming back and doing, further podcasts with us as we get, more questions and we can continue to update people on
Absolutely.
Crime prevention and tips?
Absolutely.
Okay, super. So, all right. Well, folks, if you've got a question, send it to us at media@TehachapiCityHall.com. If it's something for Sergeant Dunham, then we'll get it to him. Or you can call the Tehachapi Police Department at 661-822-2222. You can go to TehachapiPoliceDepartment.com or is it TehachapiPD.com. I know we've got a new webpage for the police department. But you can go to liveuptehachapi.com if you'd like to, and then look for police department. It'll take you to the new Tehachapi Police Department website.
Yes.
So you've got your own whole website there. Jason, thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
This was great, and I think these are very helpful tips this time of year. Hopefully people are listening as they're going shopping and going to change their habits.
I hope so. And, you can still be a victim if you do all the right things, but hopefully if you do those things, you really limit that possibility.
Very well said. Folks, again, it's media@TehachapiCityHall.com or 661-822-2222 to get a hold of the Tehachapi Police Department.
Tehachapod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of Tehachapod.